Hey, recruiting enthusiasts, I'm Priyanka, and welcome to Tech Recruiting Unfiltered podcast, a podcast for gaining all the insider knowledge about the top recruiters in the tech industry. On this week's episode, we are thrilled to have Suzie Ahmad with us, who's the Talent Acquisition Leader APAC at HCL Technologies, a seasoned talent acquisition leader and women in tech advocate with international experience, and she specializes in building and scaling high performing diverse TA teams to support rapid growth technology organizations. She has more than 20 years of experience in the IT industry with an excellent understanding of talent acquisition in the human capital ecosystem. Welcome to the podcast, Susie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Branka, for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm delighted to have you here. So, how are you doing today, Susie?
Today is a Friday. It's supposed to be a happy Friday, but work is still very busy. So I just take this 1 hour since it's already the end of the days in Singapore for the week.
Yeah, awesome. And so, to start off, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your role at HCL? And
Mm.
I'm curious to know, like, how your journey began in this industry.
All right. So I'm Susie. I actually head the talent acquisition in the Asia Pacific region for HCL Tech. I've been with the organization for close to 2 years, and I've been in the industry in the talent acquisition for technology for almost 24 years. I started off my career in HR generalist, and then I moved on to do talent acquisition, being something that is close to what I really like to do and passion about it, and how there's a lot of transformation that you be able to partner and collaborate with your business in terms of their goals and meeting what they like to see in their team. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And so, what do you love about what you do that made you stay in this industry for more than 2.5 decades?
Mm. I think I would say that technology has always been sexy. When I say sexy, it means that
Yeah,
it is something that is always changing in terms of how we do the infrastructure or the applications. And there's always the replatforming, the refresh of the modernization, be it infra or applications. And we also see there is a lot of reinvention in terms of what we can do. So
yeah,
sometimes we call it another thing many years ago, and today they rebrand it, or they name it as something different. So that's very sexy for me. Yeah.
yeah, that's really interesting. So, Susie, tell us a bit about your passions or interests outside of
Mm.
work. How do you like to spend your free time?
Right. So always like to explore new things, like maybe look out for I love coffee, and always like to understand what are the other coffees in the regions as well we have. And there's always the fusion
Yeah,
kind of saw that comes out. So one day I would like to learn how to, how the coffee, the guys who does the coffee. Yeah. So
hmm,
maybe I want to experience myself in that sense. Yeah.
nice.
Mm-mm.
And so, to begin with, I want to understand a bit about how you assess tech talent at HCL. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are usually the tech stacks you hire for?
So the tech talent that I hire for is actually across, while the infrastructure is something very hardware and networking and all that. It's quite straightforward, and that has been what I've hired in the past. But this last at least the last 10 to 15 years, applications has been the talk of the town. And from a normal Java, it becomes a very different Java now. And we have Spring Boot and some, transformation from analog to digital. So that actually has also changed the way we hire for people in the hybridness of what we're looking for in a tech talent. So I would say that the tech talent is always keep learning, unlearn and relearn for the more senior people or talent, and the junior ones will come out with the latest talent with the AI, the data scientists and all that. So I use that to see where it is positioned in the industry with the number of people available on the talent. But of course,
Mm.
anything new is always less supply. Yeah. And because of the hot market, the supply is getting even lesser. And we try to be
Yeah.
innovative in where we find these people, or we build these people around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And so, can you walk me through your approach to
Mm,
assessing tech talent from source to hire, and what
mhm,
variations of methods and
mm.
assessments have worked well really for you?
Right, right. So in the past, I think CV reading when we do the sourcing, it's very important to get the first-hand information from the hiring manager, or basically the hiring manager would maybe speak to the client. So being in the IT outsourcing organization, it's very key for the business to understand what they're looking for before they
Hmm.
actually give a brief to us, and take this opportunity as well to ask many questions with regards to the role, in particular for the roles that are a little bit niche, super niche, a little bit heavyweight, because they are a combination of what they're looking for, while the junior to the mid level is quite straightforward. So we need to separate that from the intake, the job intake. And then we move on to the go to market strategy. Can recruiters in my team always need to look at ways of, looking at them not just from one country, or sometimes we need to be a little bit creative in our discussion with the hiring manager in order to find what is best for them in this market with the budget given.
True, very true. So, what strategies have worked for you when you're trying to evaluate a candidate's ability for to innovate and think outside the box?
Right. So one of the things that I always, for myself, it's also learning for myself, and it's also good to have my team to understand where we are, explore new areas, like for instance, the old job description, what makes an attractive job description to attract the kind of candidates, know your audience, where your audience, yeah. And then look at some of the assessment that we have in the past, is that with the collaboration of the hiring managers, sit in these meetings, interviews, to understand exactly where they are before you even be able to tell a story to your potential candidates, right?
Yep.
So that's an area that I always ask them to look into, and then look at how innovative, like in some organizations, they do an open day. They also have some other perhaps events and networking events, and to encourage the like-minded people or talent across within the same space. But for a recruiter, it is always good to have the sourcer community, where they can exchange ideas.
Hmm.
Because today there are so many platforms, from LinkedIn to Facebook to Twitter to Instagram and TikTok as well. So in some countries you can use TikTok, some countries you cannot use the TikTok
Yeah.
platform. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so, when you're assessing the tech talent, how do you strike a balance between seeking for specialized skills
Mhm.
and fostering a culture of continuous learning and adaptability as well?
Mm. So we need to know, to have an insight. I think insight is an overused word today, but I think the very important aspect of it is any recruiter should do some due diligence over the role in the market, understand where the market sits with this talent, whether it is lots of supply, lack of supply, and in some projects they are not able to take certain nationality or whatsoever because of the security clearance. These are some of the items that they need to go and find out and come back as a talent advisory to the business. So in order for us to balance what is available in the market and what's not available in the market, what you like to have to hire, and what is available on the budget versus the supply. So there is a lot of calibration that a recruiter need to do, and I always coach my team to look into this area.
Right, that's really
Mm.
great. And you're involved in managing the APAC TA strategy for HCL. So, when you're creating and developing a TA strategy, what are some key factors you always consider? And what do you think are a few crucial areas which are often overlooked by a lot of companies?
Okay, okay. I think first thing first is the branding, which is and the EVP. Branding is
Mm.
very key in a lot of areas. So the way you verbiage your branding storytelling in the social media platform being the most used by a lot of organizations, and how you build the story is very key. Work with the marketing team as well as the sales team in order for us to be able to look outside just from a recruitment perspective. Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
So, what are the areas that the go to market strategy in hiring these people? What can we sell as an organization? The success stories, our financial statements, our sustainability story. That's what people want to, or potential candidates want to hear, as well as the DEI. So there is a lot of topics that is very crucial. No, it is a hot topic in all organizations, but how well you executed the hiring implementation is one. But from the strategy, does it you put in the KPP on the hiring manager, then you put the KPP for the recruiter. There is a lot of areas that we need to look at,
Yeah.
so that we are able to do so. But for a country that we are not very well off in our branding, you need to look at how best you need to collaborate with a brand, yeah, in order to for example, maybe in that country you are very very much well versed in Microsoft solutions example. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, those are
So
some really
mhm,
great tips and steps for creating a really effective strategy. And so I want to know, like, how can companies ensure that their talent attraction strategy is
mhm.
appealing to different generations of talent from boomers to Gen Z?
Yeah. So talent attraction for the different levels of the generations differs as well. So a lot of times the boomers will ask questions about stability, about of course the
Hmm.
favorite topic of compensation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how they work around in that particular area. However, in the latest trends of the Gen Z, or even slightly earlier than the Gen Z, they ask more, concern areas over environment, DI questions, sustainability. So we need to also let them know how we as an organization actually take the extra mile to go
Yeah.
through these particular topics, okay? And
Hmm.
where they can also value add as they join us, because there are also certain pockets of topics that they might be interested to champion, which is also a very good start, right?
Hmm.
So it is always a continuous learning. It is always a continuous experience for them. So definitely, when I look for example, a fresh grad is the ELH or train and deploy, or the lateral, meaning people with experience in the senior, and they would have a certain appetite that we need to appeal to them. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And at the same time, what is so trending in that particular areas. So that's how we need to look at it. And one point I must say, being in a technology organization,
Hmm.
people always look at how we use, say, chat GPT, AI, some of
Yeah.
this
True.
being the most hot topic. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched a bit upon the DEI. So
Mm,
I wanted to understand a bit about how you approach
mm,
DEI in tech hiring. So
mm,
what kind of initiatives like have you implemented in HCL to
mm.
create a more diverse and inclusive hiring process?
So DEI is a very hot topic in HCL Tech. Definitely, we need to increase women in tech. Definitely, we need to also
Yes.
look at the others being areas where these are the talents that we may not even touch in the past. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is something that we look from an equity perspective. From a diversity, nationality, and all that. But whatever that we touch points of these topics,
Yeah.
it has to be balanced at the end of the day, because balance is key, because it impacts what are the legal options in the different countries that we do. Yeah. So as
Yeah.
a talent acquisition person, we always need to remember what works well in one country does not necessarily works well in another. country. So
True.
we need to be very sensitive over what we, use to go to the market, because it will impact the potential candidates as we speak. Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely
Mm.
true.
Mm.
And you had the APAC recruitment. So
Mm.
I'm pretty sure like a lot of times you would come up with talent shortages in certain
Mm.
areas or
Mm. Mm.
regions, as well as a lot of skill gap issues. So how do you overcome those?
Okay, so skills gap and lack of supply is always the case for technology. I think from day one that I entered into this industry until
Mhm.
today, it is a constant, I would say, issue or problem. And the way to go is to build. So rather than we can buy a certain area or levels, because we need the development of the role to aggressively move towards our goals. But there are certain
Mhm.
areas that we need to build the capability. Okay, so understanding and
Yeah.
doing a lot of analysis over the role in the market versus what we have internally and what we can do better is very important for me in this region. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. And so I wanted to know like what are the tech hiring initiatives
Mm.
you have taken to effectively improve and manage the whole tech
Mm.
hiring process as well, those unconventional and
Mm.
innovative approaches you've taken at HCL.
Right. One of the areas is storytelling, and it is very key to have somebody that you interview in our internal, I mean, in our own community within HCL Tech, to be
Mm.
able to let the audience know that we do hire this skill set for a particular project in what industry. So that is one area that I always like to work and partner with my recruitment marketing campaigns. Yeah. What
Mhm.
and how we actually want to build the brand, especially. I think branding is my number one area, employee branding, EVPs,
Yeah.
in order to tell a big story, and then how we run the campaigns in all platform. So that
Mm.
in the past, maybe we only do in one area because we don't have a lot of platform, and how fresh grads can be even better utilize the bot, the AI bot, in order to
Mhm.
filter, in order to let the recruiter have a faster process filtering. But all in all, while technology is there to assist you, it is always good to understand that human intervention is still needed, because
Yeah,
sometimes it didn't works as
absolutely.
yeah at some point. And what are the parameters that we use today in 2023 may not works in 2025 anymore. So it is always a constant check by the talent acquisition team to see what else that we need to firstly review, change, or tweak the methods of reaching out and candidate experience. Not just from a candidate perspective, it's a lot of experience that we need to be the touch points as well. So it gives a wholesome 365 process for us, and to be able to reach out to the potential candidate through our check and balance process that we do, and improvement where we should be doing even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Rightly said.
Mhm.
And you touched a bit upon the employer branding
Mm.
initiatives as well. You've been
Mm.
involved a lot in that. So, any tips for companies out there on how they can represent themselves and stand out from the crowd?
Okay. So, some organizations might have won a lot of awards, and some perhaps not just awards but events that they attended. Yeah. These are some of
Yeah.
the points that we can share the success, okay, to the audience that follows your organizations. They might be there to see what else do you have in this region, versus maybe they understand they are pretty big in the founder region, like, for example. So
Hmm.
this is key for even a SME, small medium enterprise, even to be able to showcase some of their activities. Yeah, it can be employee activities and engagement. It can be a simple lunch with the best sales team. It can be a pizza lunch. These are a very simple or even like networking sessions that you attended and where you meet lots of like-minded individuals like yourself.
Right.
So this will definitely give a boost, not just from your brand that you carry, but also being an individual that people also look to in your LinkedIn, in your social media. They also look at how you actually engage externally and internally. So this is some areas that it's a good to share, if be it video, it be it snapshots of celebrations and all that. Especially celebrations. We should embrace those celebrations with different nationalities, and in particular if you're in a country where the nationality,
Yeah.
yeah, is of a concern, yeah, you should embrace that all. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. And
Mhm.
so, Susie, I think you have really good understanding and very good experience in executive recruitment and university recruiting. So,
Mhm.
to start with executive recruitment,
Mhm.
so what are few unique challenges you have faced when
Mm.
fulfilling the hiring needs for senior level positions in the
Mm.
APAC regions,
Mm. Mm.
and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah. So certain countries, they might be as the size of the business may not as big as some of the other countries, and the
Yeah.
aspiration to grow. Sometimes we thought, and I know our business is of a similar capacity as another organizations that we map. Okay. So talent mapping is very important for executive
Mm.
hiring, because at the end of the day, it's sometimes not an apple to apple comparison. Okay.
Yeah.
So what value can that candidate add on to your organization, and the opening is a key points that any recruiter should be looking at before even to look at the other aspects of the combination of the person's experience, and what kind of network, what kind of growth area that you, of course everybody expects growth, right, in each country.
Yeah. True.
That, yeah, there's always that kind of check and balance that you need to look for in an executive hiring, while the fresh grads hiring will need to look at what the market is paying. I've seen cases where we try to lowball that, and it just doesn't work at all in some instances. Okay, because at that point it is the economy is of a different situation. But sometimes after a certain layoff in tech, we also see a different appetite of the
Yeah.
of the potential candidates. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, rightly said. And so, coming to university recruiting, I think
Mm.
we know that building relationships with
Mm.
universities and academic institutions is very essential for successful university recruiting.
Mm.
So, from your experience, what are some innovative ways that
Mm.
companies can collaborate with them to build successful partnership and maximize and enhance their recruiting efforts?
All right. So fresh grads is always a raw, okay? So they may have a vision of what they want, but they're not sure whether that particular technology is something would be a successful for them or it's a failure for them. So it's very important to give them some insights of what the role and the ecosystems will work. So before they want
Hmm.
to be at a certain level of a specialist, what is required of them from the very raw start to the specialist level. So that will give them a time, like a running rate, you see. So they
Hmm.
understand. Now, in a technology company like HCL Tech, I'm very blessed, I said, that we're able
Hmm.
to show them what are the run rate for them in terms of career. Okay. In
Okay.
organizations that does not takes IT as their core business. Yeah. For example, perhaps it's professional services for a certain industry. They might not give someone a good run rate because that's not their core business.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
so what we can value add and change the way we engage with the young professionals, or the potential young professionals, is to look at it at a more wholesome way of their run rate. I'm sure everybody has an aspiration where they should go. For it, we need to guide them and give them
Yeah.
options. So I think anything that we engage with them, be it networking, be it any way of communicating to the potential candidates, we just need to be very, I would say, holistic and how a hybrid approach should be, assumed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting approach. Really
Mm-hmm.
like that. And yeah, like you said, I think the whole candidate experience,
Mm-hmm.
engagement, and the communication is really important. And keeping the candidates engaged and interested in the position as well
Mm-hmm.
before an offer
Mm-hmm.
is very difficult, as well as post the offer is also very crucial. A lot of companies struggle with that as well. So how do
Mm-hmm.
you typically engage with potential candidates before extending a job offer
Mm-hmm.
as well as post
Mm-hmm.
offer? Any methods or
Mm-hmm.
examples you can share with us?
Right. So it is important that we have that relationship that we build with the candidates, especially depending on the level of the role that we are hiring. Okay.
Mm,
However, one consistent approach that I always would like to emphasize here is we need to have a certain checkpoints. Okay. At the point before they are hired, after their interviews, ask about their interests, ask about their comfort area of the interview of the interviewers, the hiring manager. These are some of the checkpoints that you will be able to answer some of their questions, and then leading you to be able to move into converting them from sourcing of candidates to interview, and then from interview we need to convert that to an offer stage, right? But prior to
mm,
that offer stage, there is always I would say like in investment time for you to handhold the candidate of the expectations of the role, expectation of the compensation, and expectation of the run rate, what they can grow within the organization. And then from
yeah,
there, we can convert them to the offer stage, and then finally the onboarding. It is very important once we could be able to convert the candidate into offer stage, and then the hand holding from that offer stage to the onboarding. The pre-onboarding will take a little bit of an investment for you to closely touch points with the candidate, and lastly work together with the HR, because they will be the one who handles I would say, the life cycle of that candidate into an employee. So this whole experience, it has to be joining the dots. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. You greatly put it. And so, how different is this whole engagement strategy, say, for freshers and senior folks?
Mm-hmm. Okay, fresh is a little bit, I would say, raw and very excited. I would say that. So their approach is a little more exciting. Okay,
Hmm,
because they are expecting fun before the real works comes, right? So you need to
yeah,
sell a lot of dreams to them. So engagement pre onboarding is key in order for them to be able to continue until they start. So that engagement is always good to bring them to sign the contract. Previously, during non-digital times, signing of contract is to come to the office, right? To be able to have a
hmm,
office tour, yeah. But today, maybe we don't have the visibility of or the ability to do office tour, because everybody do a DocuSign or
yeah,
e-signature. Yeah, yeah.
true.
So perhaps we need to onboard them on the same timing, do everything at the same timing, or split that into two dates in a different month, and do it on the very day. And then it is very important to handhold them post onboarding with the brown bag sessions. Mm.
Yeah, true. And I think you touched a bit upon in like that everyone's looking for a career development and advancement opportunity.
Mm.
And I think behind compensation, the lack of career development and advancement opportunity is the leading cause of voluntary attrition.
Mhm.
And so I would like to know like how you promote internal mobility and career progression within your organization for your existing employees in HCL, and what initiatives have you put in place to support their professional growth?
I think it's very important to work with the learning division. All right, in
Yeah.
HCL Tech, we do have a very good learning programs, and of course, not just from a fresh grad perspective. I'm sure you are aware of the successful programs that we had for HCL Tech in some of the countries that we run, and
Hmm.
versus also the lateral hire, which needs more certification from the industry. Yeah, so
Hmm.
there is different approach to both, but what we do is to look at the current capacity of the candidate and how fast we can put them into the next role. Because, for example, today they might be a .NET core, for example. Okay.
Hmm.
But there is a potential because .NET Core is also related to another a role in Microsoft Dynamics. Just an example, they can also
Okay.
switch gear and
Hmm.
quickly put into a training, I know, a course of that, and they can start to do a very support role within the Microsoft because it is of a different, I say, platform, right? Now,
Hmm.
having said that, with all the current skill sets that we need to address our clients' requirements, we also need to look at how best they can switch gears in terms of what more relevant for them in the market that they are servicing. So today they might be in Australia or New Zealand, and then some of them maybe in Philippines, and in
Yeah.
Vietnam. So they want to move over to a more advanced technology where the embrace of such technology is even faster in some other
Hmm. Hmm.
countries. So that would means that they really have to go all out to fix a lot of training and get
Yeah.
certification. So it's really self-driven as well. I don't say that we need to always push them, but it's also
Hmm.
self-driven.
Hmm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, yeah, true. And yeah, I think recruitment is becoming more and more technology driven and
Mm.
complex, and it comes with a lot of immense range of responsibilities as well. So I think it's very
Mm-hmm.
imperative that recruiters should be given enough resources to handle it effectively, to help build the digital workforce of tomorrow. So
Mm-hmm.
Susie, can you like tell us a bit about how the use of technology has improved the efficiency as well as reduce the costs in your current recruitment process?
Right. I remember those days where I do recruitment through newspapers, and that's very old way of that's analog way, right?
Yeah.
And they use a lot of, I would say, a cost over it. But
Mm.
I would say that with the technology, some of the solutions are also not cheap as well. It doesn't come cheap. But what's important is what is the ROI at the end of that. You can have the most expensive system, but the optimization and the usage of the team members, we
Mm.
need to monitor, because at the end of the day, if you have that and you're not getting the team to use, or not getting anywhere of the search, or the sourcing and all that, it doesn't going to meet
Yeah.
effectiveness and
True.
efficiency, right? Now,
Mm.
similarly, if you have a good ATS system that can do a lot of work before you filtering and some other matches together with LinkedIn or some other AI, if the tools and such platform are not even being used by the recruiters, optimization failed, because at the end of the
Mm.
day they still use the old way of doing it, and that's wrong, because we want to go to the direction of be able to cut some of the process faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's from an outreach perspective. Yeah. However,
Mm.
for compliance purposes, some areas where we feel that we can cut and there is a lot of check and balance within the system, that will help us even better. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is always the avenue where to make the talent acquisition processes faster. Yeah. And
Mm.
at the same time, we cannot be against the legal implications as well as compliance. Yeah. These are the two
Yeah.
areas you mean.
Yeah, very true.
Mm,
And recruitment industry is constantly evolving, and the
mm,
technological advancements as well as the changing job market demands are shaping the future of recruitment. So,
uh-huh.
what emerging trends in technologies do you anticipate will have the biggest impact on the way we hire and retain talent? And
Mm.
according to you, like how can recruiters be prepared for these changes?
Right. Because changes is constant, right? But if you're in a technology space, you just have to even watch the feed. Because future of recruitment is dynamic. Is today with the COVID-19 situation as well, there is a lot of points or aspect that has also changed from the way candidate having a perspective of what they want in their career versus what's available in pre-COVID and post-COVID, yeah, and what
Hmm.
kind of technology has actually emerged because of those situations that's happened. It is a global changes. And if you look at it after, post COVID, we also see a lot of the restructuring and, looking at why in some areas it is not making. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because of the maybe acceptance of the technology,
Yeah.
maybe the price. There is a lot of things. There is a lot of aspect to it. So for us in recruitment, we constantly need to look at all this at every angle, because at the end of the day, we are bringing the candidate, right? And if the candidate is not be able to see the emerging trends, it is also difficult for us to give them like a convincing story or to assure
Yeah.
them, right? So
Hmm.
everything is risk. I would never say that in the past I used this X tools as an ETS system, this will actually work for me in today's because one size doesn't fits all. I also remember that what policies over in one country that they were very successful may not be successful because the volume also changes. So
Yeah.
once upon a time, one market can be having 3,000 people. Okay, that's why
Hmm.
the policies really work fantastic. But today, because of the changes in the way market has evolved, and businesses have also moved people because of the war in Ukraine, for example,
Hmm.
maybe limitations of people in the North Asia side of the world with skill sets that we want to bring to the table. There is a lot of calibration and innovation hub that technology industry need to look as an organization, and that's where
Yeah.
talent acquisition, which also need to uplift how we, you know, hiring, number one, sourcing,
Yeah.
that's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And use what AI that can help us even faster on our outreach. And I think maybe after AI will be some others we wouldn't know, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely true. And so, yeah, before we wrap up our conversation, I wanted to
Mm.
ask you, Susie. So, your
Mm.
experience in the industry spans to more than 2.5 decades. So,
Mm.
what would be your piece of advice for the budding recruiters out there?
Right, right, right. I think recruitment is always ever changing landscape. I would say, be it in any industry, right?
Hmm.
However, for technology hiring, it is always fast in terms of in terms of how we look at the technology that we are hiring.
Hmm.
Yeah. Two, there is a lot of versions as well. In the past, I think the modernization of a particular technology happens quite I would say maybe 6 months or 12 months down there. But because of the hybridness of today's area, tech recruiter needs to be always, read up. I think, being increasing in the knowledge of the technology is key. Or else, how can you be a successful recruiter when you
Yeah.
speak to that individual? Yeah. So
Hmm.
you need to arm yourself with lots of knowledge and speak to the subject matter expert in the company.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's really great advice. And that brings us to the end of our conversation. I had a wonderful time chatting with you, Susie. And
Yeah, me
I,
too.
yeah, and I love the insights and the tips you've shared with us today. So thank you again for joining Tech Recruiting Unfiltered podcast.
All right. Thank you so much for your time as well.